Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new American Tier 9 tank destroyer, the TL-7 Black. Now this is a premium Tier 9 that actually has some silver bonus at 25%, which is unusual because most of the other Tier 9 premiums don't have a silver bonus, but this does, so it makes a little bit of credits. It doesn't make a great amount of credits like, say, buying a Cold War premium or buying a Tier 8, but it makes a little bit more than your standard Tier 9s. I think it's selling for about 10,000 gold base. Well, I say base, but with the discounts in the store. And then also 13,000 gold in a bundle with the Tornvarm. On the whole, I don't think this tank is worth it that much, to be honest. Because it's got absolutely no armour, which is a pain. Its gun is very derpy, which is, again, really annoying when you're trying to drop the clips. Also a bit of a pain to play at distance, even though the tank really wants you to play at distance because it's got no armor whatsoever, and it's not really a brawler. So you want to be playing it more like that TD, a bit further back, or playing a bit more peekaboo. But the derpy gun handling holds it back, and it was really irritating to play with this gun. And yeah, I said the armor's pretty bad. It does have pretty good camo, however, which you can use and abuse. And like I say, if you play more like a TD, it's going to go well. But if you try and play more like a TD, the derpy gun also lets you down a fair amount at distance. So I've had love-hate with it. At some points, I'm like, yeah, I really kind of like this. And at other times, it's like, no, I'm just not enjoying this whatsoever. And to be honest, a big limiting factor is the fact that the Cobra T-54, which they released, 3-4 weeks ago, came out. And that tank is so much better than this tank. It does pretty much what this tank has. It has the same sort of autoloader, but it's more accurate. Its mobility's better if you use the turbo. It's actually got some sort of armor. Obviously, it doesn't have camo because it's a heavy tank, but it pretty much does everything that this tank wants to do, but way better. So if you were going to spend that much gold on a tank, because I don't know what the base price of this tank is, because it advertises it as a certain discount off for being a Black Friday tank, you're going to buy the Cobra T-54 and not this tank. And there's a lot of the other Tier 9 mediums as well that are just a lot more fun to play. Or tank destroyers or heavies. The Tier 9 premiums, there's just a fair few that are just a little bit better than this tank, to be honest. And if you're going to spend the gold, you'd be spending gold on them. I'm not the biggest fan of this tank in the playthrough that I've had of it. And I'm not sure, on initial impressions, I'm not sure it's worth the gold. But we're going to go through the stats to show you what it actually has. And in terms of the stats, it has 480 horsepower with a 50 km/h top speed and 13 km reverse speed. The 13 km reverse speed is so slow. It is so slow. Okay, just bear in mind how slow it is when it's reversing backwards. If you have to back out of a situation, keep in mind it takes you a while. Quite a lot of the time, you're best to actually swivel round, reverse round a corner, start dropping a clip, and then drive off forward because you'll get away quicker. 17.14 horsepower per ton isn't too bad. It is a little bit sluggish off the mark, but it does get going to that 50 kilometers an hour pretty decently, so it's not something you have to worry about too much. It's got 1500 hit points, which is about standard, I think, for a Tier 9 tank destroyer, so it's not too bad. 30 degrees a second on the hull traverse. Feels a little bit slow with this tank, actually, but it's sort of mediocre. It's middle of the road. It's not too good. It's not too bad. You could buff that up by running clutch braking or running the traction system or something like that. You'll get that even higher. I mean, if you run clutch braking and the traction system, you're probably looking at, 36, 37 degrees a second instead of 30, which is a massive improvement. Soft terrain resistance is 1.9, 1.10 on medium, and 1 on firm. The ground resistances aren't actually that bad. If you wanted to make them better, you could run off-road driving, but generally they're not actually that bad, so there's other things that you might want to improve on the tank instead. Your detectability range, your camo, is 323 meters with steel concealment. Actually, I've got permanent camo on this tank, which makes that better, but it's 3.23 with the permanent camo on it, which is pretty good, and you can get that down to like 250, 260 with crew skills and equipment. We'll see when we put them on. If you can use and abuse the bushes and use this well, you can actually stay unspotted for quite a while, which is really nice. You've got 370 meters view range, which means this tank is actually kind of blind, and you'll have to run optics to make sure that you can spot for yourself, because yeah, the view range really isn't that good. And if you're trying to like spot more stealthier tanks, you really struggle to spot them, and you sort of end up having the whole they spot you at the same time you spot them, or you get outspotted yourself, which can be painful. And I'm thinking of light tanks as well in that regard. It's kind of annoying, but yeah, you'll have to try and make this as good as possible. In terms of the turret rotation speed, it's 24 degrees a second, which is pretty slow, but actually for a turreted tank destroyer is actually not that bad. A lot of turreted tank destroyers have a lot worse than that, so it could have been worse, so that's not too bad for a turreted tank destroyer. Again, you can make that better by running rapid aim or stuff like that. Accuracy during rotation is poor at 1.15. If you turn the tracks a little bit, the gun blooms out so much. It just adds to this really derpy gun handling that this tank has. And yeah, it's also after shot dispersion as well. It's pretty bad. As soon as you fired one shell, it blooms out massively, and then you've got to wait for the fairly long aim time to be able to get the gun aimed in on target to be able to shoot people. It's really annoying in that regard, and it adds to this derpy gun handling. You've got 10 degrees of gun depression, which is absolutely fantastic. That's always fantastic to have on a tank. 15 degrees of gun elevation is also sound. You'll be fine with that. You've got a 40-second reload time, which is pretty slow, but you can get that down to about 31, 32 seconds, I think it is. It's still pretty slow. It's around the same time as the Cobra, actually, and you have a very similar gun with 360, but more pen, naturally, on premium and standard and with better velocity. But yeah, the reload time is a little bit slow, and sometimes it struggles to keep up with the battle a little bit, and with how long games last, yeah, it can struggle with that a little bit. And like I say, if you're in a more aggressive position, you will struggle to keep pumping the shots out, especially since you have to keep waiting to make sure that you're aiming the shots because of this 0.4 accuracy. 0.4 accuracy is pretty poor, and especially for a 360 alpha gun at tier 9, 0.4 is pretty poor, and especially at range it's pretty terrible. A lot of the times your shots will deviate, which can be annoying. 0.4 accuracy is poor, and obviously seeing it's this tank destroyer, can't run vert stabs, so you've got to run the gun perks to make it better. Yeah, 2.7 aim time as well. Derpy gun. You could run a GLD to make this better. I don't know. I'm probably going to experiment with it. I've run full camo build because this tank will be more effective with the full camo build, to be honest. And making sure that you stay unspotted for as long as possible, because as soon as you are spotted, and as soon as people look at you, you die because you've got absolutely no armor. So, yeah, the derpy gun handling is a little bit of a pain. I wish this aim time was more like 2.4, 2.3 if they wanted to keep it a bit longer. It's just a little bit too long, added with the 0.4 accuracy being so poor. You get 4 shots in your clip. It is an autoloader with a 2-second intro, which means you put out the damage pretty quickly, but with the 2-second intro clip, your gun isn't aimed in as fast as you actually manage to fire, so you have to bear that in mind. You have a 36 ammo capacity, which is a little bit low. I wish it was more like 40 or 50 rounds. It's always a bit annoying when they make it so that the tank has fairly low ammo capacity, so I do wish that it had better, generally. You do have AP, APCR and HE as your rounds, which is nice. No heat, which is definitely a bonus. You got 1879 base average damage per minute, which again is fairly slow. That's because of the 40-second reload. 252 standard pen on the AP is fine. 315 on the premium APCR is great. The penetration on this tank is something that doesn't lack, which is nice. You'll be able to pen everything you're going to face, which is great for the tank generally. This is one of the strengths of the tank. This and the camo, the penetration of the camo is the strengths of the tank, really, to be honest. And that's about it for it, really. You have 1,060 meters a second shell velocity on your standard AP round, with nearly 1,500 on your APCR. That makes a massive difference, and you will feel a massive difference between firing these two rounds. And it's one of those tanks that you can see people just firing full prem, just purely because of this shell velocity. Because that shell velocity at 1,500 is pretty dirty and will feel incredible to use. But, like I say, it's still a pain because of the derpy-ass gun handling. Like I say, you've got 125 silver bonus and 175% XP bonus as well, which is pretty good. So the bonuses for this tank for a tier 9 are actually really solid. If you wanted a tank that could make you at tier 9 that could make you a little bit of credits and make you some good tank XP, which would make it a little bit decent for crew training, this could be one for you. So let's put the equipment on the tank. So I've been running vents, camo net, and optics. And the reason I've been running that is because I wanted to make my tank generally better. I wanted to try and make everything about the tank, like the reload, the aim time, the view range, generally everything about the tank better with those vents. And that's why I run that. Optics again to make sure that my view range is as good as possible because it is blind. And with the camo net, you can see we're down to 264 steel concealment, which is really good. And obviously you add the camo skills and stuff like that, it's going to get even better. Naturally, because this aim time is so poor, you could probably run the GLD instead. I'll show you. We'll have a quick look at the aim time in a minute when we've put the commander in and gone through those stats, and we'll see what the difference is between running the two. So the commander I've been using for this tank, and again, I probably will change out a skill or two on it. I'm not too sure yet. And that is, I've been running this crew, which is Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, and Muffled Shot. To be honest, I've been thinking about swapping Muffled Shot out and putting on Snapshot because this gun is so derpy and I want to really help it as much as I possibly can. So bear that in mind that you might want to drop out Muffled Shot for the Snapshot. It's definitely well worth having, to be honest with you. And then you can keep Silent Driving for keeping your camo down while on the move, and Camouflage Expertise for making your camo generally 10% better, which is always nice for a tank destroyer, right? So as you can see, the steel concealment is actually down to 250 now, which is absolutely solid. So as you can see with the upgraded stats with the equipment and crew in it, our terrain resistance is a little bit better. Our steel concealment is 250, on the move 265, fine. View range is at 484 meters, which is great. If you have to run vents and optics to be able to make that as good as that, even then you still do struggle to spot things at times, which is kind of annoying, and you might see that in one of the replays. But yeah, it's nothing to shout. It's not like it's 445 or 450 meters view range. You definitely want optics, and the vents dropping won't do too much to that, I don't think. In terms of the reload, we've got it down to 31.6, which isn't too bad. If it was any better, it'd probably be too good. But, well, actually, they probably could make it so when it's fully pimped out, it was like 28 seconds. And then it wouldn't be as brokenly good as the Cobra T-54's reload, but it also wouldn't be that bad. And it would actually have a little bit better than the Cobra, for example. You've got 0.32 accuracy, which is decent, but a lot of tanks at tier 9 with vert stabs and stuff like that are starting to push like 0.25, 0.26 accuracy. So that's not wonderful for a tank destroyer, really. You've got aim time down to 2.44 seconds, which we'll have a look at in a minute if we put GLD on instead. The turret rotation is now at 26.58. You're still at 1.01 on the accuracy during turret rotation. So that's the stats when we've put the crew and the equipment in. Like I say, it's still not that great even with that. We'll have a quick look when we put a GLD in about the aim time, because that might be quite useful to have. So the aim time is actually down to 2.2, which means you're nearly aimed at the same time as your intra-clip. So you might want to run that instead. As you can see, we've gained nearly an extra second on the reload, though, or, well, 0.6, something like that. The aim accuracy is still the same, though, so not sure why that is. The accuracy probably should have been better with vents there. But you can see our view range has dropped by over 10 meters as well. So it's completely up to you and how you want to run the equipment on this tank, or even the crew. Like I say, it's always about whatever I tell you in these reviews is sort of a base understanding, like a base crew, a base sort of equipment setup. So it's what, if you take the tank out with this setup, you can then think, oh no, that's really annoying. Instead, I'm going to change out this piece of equipment for that piece of equipment because this is really annoying. Because you could also get annoyed by the fact it's a 50km/h top speed and think, you know what, actually I want a 55km/h top speed. So you put on traction system and you get better track traverse and a better top speed. It's all down to you, because good is in the eye of the beholder. It's, you know, I might think this tank's terrible and you might actually really enjoy it, you know, and you might really be fine with gun handling, whereas I get really annoyed by it. It's down to you. On the whole, though, I don't think this tank is that worth it for the gold. I think you're probably better to get a Cold War Premium or just get the World War II ones. for the silver, and in terms of competitiveness compared to stuff like the the Cobra T-54 that's recently came out, I think you're better, if you're going to spend that much gold, getting the Cobra T-54, because it's just far, far better than this tank is. It's not a bad tank. I mean, by the way I'm saying it, it's making it out as if it's horrific. It's not horrific, it's just not as good as what's already out there, and if you're going to be spending your money on it, I genuinely don't think it is worth that much. Maybe if it was on a higher discount, but I think what it's on now, it is a discount for itself. I mean, what is it on the store? It's, if we go over here, 10,700, which is a 40% discount apparently. So that's, what the tank is at discount. This is probably, to be fair, this is probably the best time to pick it up if you were going to pick it up. But yeah, so the TL-7 Black, that's the stats, that's the commander setup. As always, I'm going to send you over to the replays where you can decide whether you like the look of the tank, whether you think, yeah, this guy's telling the truth, it doesn't look very good, or whether you can think, actually, I quite like the look of this tank, and for 10,700 gold on this discount, probably the best it's going to be, yeah, I might pick it up. So, as always, everybody, I'll see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the TL-7 Black. This is, like I say, the Tier 9 American tank destroyer. And this first game is probably the more average game I've been having in the tank, where you sort of get yourselves into a position, you start firing, you can't quite keep up with the reload, with the game, I should say. And the gun just derps on certain shots that you sit there going, oh, I really wanted to hit that shot, or I really needed to hit that shot. And you leave yourself, by the time it ends, a little bit frustrated with it. So we're on cliff, and I'm going to take the aggressive position on cliff to take the middle, but that's because the middle is really powerful, because you can take up either side of the hill. You can attack people that attack round the hill at the 8-9 line. You can shoot them as they come round on the FG, but you can also take up the position where our light tanks have gone, and you can shoot people like these heavies that are crossing, which can be quite nice. So, as you can see, we're loaded, we're ready. We are catching this 257 out, and that's where the camo's nice. Obviously, he spotted us as soon as we fired, but he was, 250 metres away, and he still couldn't see me. And we managed to put 3 out of 4 shots into him, because the first shot sort of derped and tracked him, but it let us put the other 3 in. And unfortunately, he just slammed a shot. It was heat, but he slammed a shot straight at us, straight in, and penned us. That's just the way this armour is. Sometimes the spaced armour on the sides of the turret, because it does have 5mm of spaced armour on the side, does absorb heat shells here and there, which can be definitely nice and be alright, but at the same time, you should never rely on it. And like I say, it's just got no armour. And you can see we're loaded now. We try and snap the shot into the tusk, but we missed. That was really just a bad shot. It was never going to hit. And now that tusk is in a position where he's just hiding from me and the T-100LT. But he pulls out, so we're going to try and slap a shot in. We get one straight into his drive wheel, but he repairs. He then drives out, but unfortunate timing there with the T-100LT, and we missed that. And then that shot went nowhere near where I was aiming. It would have missed anyway, to be honest, but it's the fact that it went to the far right of the reticle and outside of where it actually was. Kind of painful, but it is what it is. So we're just now reloading again, waiting for our chance to strike once again, boost our reload with food, because it is that point where it's so close to 30 seconds. It is nice that as soon as the shells are going in, or should I say you start reloading, you just press B, get your food boost in, and you drop your reload below that 30 seconds, you gain like 3 or 4 seconds off of the reload, which is quite nice. Now this 430 is coming in, it's like, right, I'm ready for him. Shot deviates a little bit to the left and ends up doing track damage only. We managed to get a shot into his side though and pen him. And now we're going to go round and try and help this chisel out, because this 430 looked like he was barreling round to help the other medium tank that's over here. So here we go, we've got him, and unfortunately the shell just goes really high and hits his turret, and then the other one manages to pen him. And once again, we're on the reload, we're watching what's going off. Our team setup isn't the best here. We've got 2 guys that are sitting just in the base. We've got most of our team on the 1-2, which generally, when you get to this situation, means you're probably going to end up being encircled, which is not a good time generally. And this is the way that Cliff does generally go. But this UDES 16 pops around and the T69. We're nearly reloaded, so it's like, hello boys, let me just... Oh, we hit the dirt on the T69, okay. But the UDES 16 pokes out, and we managed to slap all 3 shells into that guy, which is nice. But now we're on a reload, and there's nothing left on this top end. Everybody's so focused on the bottom. we're doomed. At this point, it's like, well, I'm dead. And unfortunately, we're going to finish this game with 3.2k damage, and it is going to be a loss, sadly enough. As you can see, we couldn't pull round to the other side of the corner because they still had the tank destroyers camping on the one line, and they would have killed us. It was either death to the TDs on the one line or death to the 430 there. We were kind of just stuck, and as soon as the 430 just looked at us, it was easily penning us every time. Sad times, sad defeat, but that's generally what I've averagely been doing in games, because it's either their team's just done what their team did to us, which is completely demolish us. Most of our team didn't really do much, and we were just constantly firing as fast as we could, and then we managed to only get about 3k damage, and then we lose, or it's the opposite way around, right? And we're firing as much as we can, we're trying to keep up with the play, but our team completely crushes their team, and we managed to do about 3k damage. A lot of the time, it's held back as well by just how derpy this gun handling is. It can be really frustrating because of that. And especially in the faster games, where you're having to try and take a few more chancy shots as well, because you don't have the time to get the shells the gun aimed in. You're going to miss a lot more shots, and that just wastes a lot of the time that you're reloading as well, which can be frustrating. So we're on the second replay, and this time we're on Siegfried line. And I've pushed aggressively to this position at F5. We tried to get a shot into the T100 LT there, but it didn't go in. And while I actually just sat there for a bit while I was spotted to see if detected appeared, and detected didn't happen. So I was like, you know what, I don't think anything's really come over here. I don't think there's anything on the AB 123. So, you know what, we're going to push into an aggressive position to get rid of this T100 LT, because he's what's stopping a lot of people. As you can see, I've actually got a lot of my team at F and G 5-6 that are just sitting there watching this T100 LT. So, if we can get rid of this guy, the team can hopefully progress and move up. Unfortunately, one of the shells only does track damage, but we do manage to get the other two shells into that guy, and we get 726 damage so far. And again, we're just waiting for the reload. And it's not the worst reload by any means, to be perfectly honest. I really don't think it is. It's not like we're still waiting 40 seconds while fully pimped out. 31 seconds isn't too bad. And like I say, if you boost with food, you're getting it down to like 27 when you're putting the shells in. So it can be pretty nice. Here we make a mistake, because I didn't look what was around the corner. I just saw there was a TD and a T-54 that were sitting here, and I thought, you know what, this is a chance to try and get some shots into these guys. I thought they might be attacking the TDs in the middle. I didn't really think they'd both be facing my way, and I was like, oh, that's a mistake, that's an E3, and then he slapped us for a lot of our health, which is not conducive to a good time, really. So a big mistake there. Always pay attention, kids. Always pay attention to your surroundings and what you're going to attack. There, I just saw a TD on the map and went, oh, it'll be fine. Oh, that's an E3. Pain, right? So just be careful what you're going up for. So right here, I'm reloaded, and I'm like, okay, I want to try and get some shots into these guys. I've loaded premium because I'm going to struggle to pen the E3 with my standard rounds at 252. We tried to chance a shot into that guy's lower plate, but then he started looking at us, and it was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So we're just basically playing the odds. We're just waiting, because eventually, when that heavy tank dies that was on the left, which has just happened, our team is going to hopefully start pushing around on these guys. Then we see the E3's actually pulled back behind this dead wreck and is moving the dead wreck. That means he actually hasn't got a shot at us. So while I've got the chance to get in, we drop the clip into that Rhinoceronte, and we do a fair whack of damage to that tier 10 heavy tank. Just because of that little bit of awareness there, that was like, oh wait, that E3 is actually behind the dead wreck, and his gun is behind there. He's not going to get a shot at me if I poke up, so I may as well get up, take the opportunity, do the opportunistic auto-loader thing, and get the shots in. And that's what we managed to do. So now we're going to try and get the flanking shots. Now, I didn't realise that Kampfpanzer was going to be there. I could have actually poked around that corner, got a shot in to try and track that Kampfpanzer, and then drop my clip into him. But I didn't realise he was just sort of in the open, and we do miss the opportunity to get him. But we are flanking. This Sturm target's here. We're going for the drive wheel to track him. Unfortunately, the shot goes to the far left. The second one doesn't quite go where we want it to, but we do manage to drop the whole clip anyway, and we managed to get all the damage in. And now it's like, oh god, their team's coming. I've got to back up, back up, back up. Fortunately enough, the APCR from the M60, I think it was, ricochets. I mean, we have 100mm of angled upper plate armour, right? And it means absolutely nothing when you're facing tier 9s and 10s. You will get penned 95% of the time. But shots like that from the M60, where it was an extreme angle, most of the time won't go in, and we were quite fortunate there. We didn't lose any more hit points. So now we're reloaded. We do manage to get a shot into the back of that M60 as he's running away. But they do have the Projecto 66 here. Their team has melted very, very quickly. We're just going to try and get there to get some shots. And we managed to snap the shot into his upper plate and then finish him off. And thankfully, those shots went in because they weren't very well aimed. And generally, in my experience of playing this tank, those shots actually do miss. And we finished the victory. 1 kill, 4.8k damage, 884 assistance, the first class Confederate sniper medal, 1751 base XP. That was one of the more better games that I had, and showed off what the tank can do if you play it pretty well. And it also showed a little bit of the downsides of it with the derpy gun handling as well. But for the most part, it's just it's an assassin, right? That's the way autoloaders are. You have to catch people off guard and drop your clip. The moment you become the focus of people's attention, you die very quickly because, like I say, you just have no armor. So people do just pen you very easily, and you don't really have. You have what for a tier 9 or 10? 4 shots of damage. You have 4 shots of health. So as soon as there's 4 shots gone into you, you're pretty much dead. And yeah, you just got to use your HP wisely, play a bit more assassin-y, drop the clips. And to be honest, you probably got to use the stealth of the tank to your advantage. I'm definitely playing it a little bit too aggressively. Because like on a map like Proc, I would probably, in this tank with the great stealth that this tank has, be better at B1, where that TD is at the minute on Proc. But I just don't trust the gun. I don't trust the gun enough whatsoever. So I decided, you know what? No, I'm going to go here to E3-4, and try and use this little ridgeline position that I always use. Because I might still spot stuff down the 1 line. I might be able to get shots at things that do get spotted down the JK. And we can try and just keep dropping clips. Because obviously, naturally, this tank does fire very, very quickly. So you can put out damage very, very quickly. And you don't have to hang about for as long. But it does mean that a lot of the time you're not going to get as shots aimed in as much as you really, really want to. And that means that generally for this sort of position, you probably might lose, well, you probably might miss a fair few of the shells. So at the minute, we are trapped because this T-30 keeps spotting us. We can't poke above the ridgeline because there seems to be quite a lot down that 1-2. Unfortunately, our light tank got shut down by the T-30, and their light tank is still marauding about spotting everyone, which is sad, sad times. The artillery does slap the T-30 though, puts him on a little bit low health. Now he's gone. I was thinking, you know what, I'm going to try and poke and see if I can spot anything. We don't spot anything, but we were detected, and I was like, right, that was either, I think artillery's just fired, so I was thinking that's either artillery, which I don't think it is because he's just fired, or there is still something, or there is something on that 1 line. And you know, just as we poke, it's like, that's a Type 5 heavy. Okay, so we're just going to start poking up and slapping shots in. We get 1 in, we get 2 in, and unfortunately the third only does track damage. And we instantly go to the 315 APCR pen rounds because if that Type 5 heavy gets spotted again while we're waiting for the reload, we can start dropping the clip and penning him. Because with our 252 at the distance we're at and the sort of slight angle that he's at, we actually can't really do much to him. So we're just going to load the APCR so that next time we get spotted, we're guaranteed to go through, which is it's always what you want to be doing as a tank destroyer. But that's it. I don't really trust the gun enough to be an actual tank destroyer and play it just that little bit more cautiously and a little bit further back because it just derps shells all the time. But then even when you're up close and personal, it still derps shells, and then when you're up close and personal, people tend to look at you and shoot you, which can be very, very awkward. So yeah, it's the rough with the smooth. So yeah, right now we're just playing a little bit careful. Because, again, we know they've got a lot of tanks back there. This HWK-12 is doing a magnificent job of not getting hit and spotting everyone. And every time he pokes, he manages to spot us there, which is really frustrating. We're very lucky, to be fair, in this replay, that artillery hasn't decided to put shots at us. So that's going well so far. As we poke, you see the HWK-12 spots us again, and it's like, okay, nope, not doing that. Then a tank destroyer, the SU-101 over there gets spotted. I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to poke over. I'm going to keep this rock on my left, or on my left, on my right, so that it's in between me and the vision for the guys down camping at K2. Because that's where I poked over to shoot that SU-101, and as you can see, the deadliness of an autoloader there just took that tier 8 tank destroyer out of the game very, very quickly. We can poke up, keep that rock on our right, and it'll obscure the chances to get shots at us that those guys at K2 will want to have at us. And that's always the way. If someone gets spotted what that SU-101 is, just move a bit further over to the left. That rock, you can use it to your advantage. So we're nearly loaded again. And this HWK-12 has finally taken a fair few hits. He's finally lost a load of hit points. We just need him to go. And I was thinking, okay, they've just pushed across the hill. The TVP 50/51 spotted there. Do I want to go over there and start shooting that? No, you know what? The M48 120mm here, which has incredible view range, is going to spot in the bowl, which means he's going to start spotting people, and there you go. The Death Star at the back finally gets spotted. We're not going to wait for the aim time to go in so that we can just get some shots into him. Unfortunately, we only get 2 of those in. We're going to try and get a shot in to shut down this HWK-12, but he gets kind of below where our gun is, so we can't quite do it. We still have the 2 shots loaded, though. I'm thinking, should I reload? I've got 7 shots, or, yeah, 7 shells left. I think, no, there's the Death Star. Let's try and get a shot at him. We try and slap the shot at the side of his turret, because it was a red pen marker, but unfortunately, it doesn't quite go where we want it. And we try and pop a blind shot down there, which actually looked like it was pretty accurate. It just didn't hit anyone there. It was in the same direction that they were all just getting spotted. So, yeah, now we're reloading again, and it's the reason this game is possible, really, is because that M48 120mm actually went into the bowl. Because he went into the bowl and he has 410 meters view range himself, or it might even be 420, he has incredible view range, and if he's got like optics on there, he's spotting all those guys at the back, which means that every time these guys are poking and getting a shot, he's also spotting them and getting a lot of assist himself, and it's feeding me damage, which is nice. So it's thanks to that guy going into that area that we're alright. This Yahtzee gets spotted because it fired at him. We managed to drop 2 shells into him. And then this Death Star gets spotted again. It's like, right, we're going to try and slap a shot towards his drive wheel. Thankfully, the first shot went in, and then the second shot went in. The gun behaved. And we managed to double track that Death Star on the ridgeline, which is exactly what I wanted to do. We have a hefty helping of luck to be able to hit that shot, but it goes in, tracks that guy, we get a load of damage, get a fair bit of assistance on him, and it gets rid of the Death Star out of the game, which is nice. I still have 1 more left, though, so we have to be careful of that. So, again, you see, actually, to be fair, when you're watching these replays, the reload doesn't actually feel that bad, which is pretty nice. You're seeing that we're not waiting too long. It just depends on how quick the game is going. But, I mean, a map like Proc, and a game like we're having here, the game is just giving us enough time to pull back, drop a reload, wait, clip in, pull forward, shoot, pull back, stay safe, right? So it's sort of helping us in that way. We managed to help that M48 120mm with a shot into the ML2, which went into the back of his turret. Unfortunately, the second shot did derp, but as he's pulled forward, he has spotted this TL-7 black. The first shot hits his tracks and does no damage. The second shot was poorly aimed, but missed. Anyway, I was kind of hoping it would track him and we'd get a bit more assistance, but unfortunately it doesn't. But that M48 120mm has that guy. And I'm looking at it going, right, who's left? Right, they've got 4 tanks and an artillery. We've just seen the artillery shell fly. So it's like, right, the SU-130PM hasn't been spotted this entire game. I'm feeling like he might be back here with the artillery. So let's go and try and find the artillery, shut that guy down, and hopefully find the SU-130PM. And hope that the SU-130PM is over here and not in the corner, because otherwise we've wasted a lot of opportunities to get damage. The SU-130PM actually gets spotted over there. The other tank destroyer is the Death Star. He is also over there. And it's like, well, at least we've got the artillery. And we managed to snap the shot into the artillery, finish him off, and that was the end of the game. And we finished the game with a really nice total for the TL-7 black. A tank it's alright. It's not great. And you can do pretty decently with it. We finished with the Ace Tanker. 1863 base XP, 4.3k damage, 2.5k assistance. Like I say, it's an okay tank destroyer. It's one that irks me because the gun handling isn't the best. It lets you down quite a lot, and generally, when you have the Cobra T-54, which is just flat out better in every way than this tank, I don't see the point of spending all the money on it. But it is at the best discount it'll ever be at, so it is what it is. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.